How the U.S. Navy succeeded in Operation Epic Fury. Before the sun rose over Tehran on February 28, 2026, before a single Iranian radar operator had time to react, the sea had already spoken. Hundreds of miles offshore in the dark waters of the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf, American warships and submarines had already released their opening salvo. Cruise missiles, guided by satellite signals and terrain mapping software, were threading through valleys and over mountain ridges at 500 miles per hour, hugging the Earth's surface to stay invisible to radar. They were en route to targets that had been planned for months. Their arrival was timed to the minute. This is the story of how the United States Navy powered one of the most technologically complex military operations in modern history, Operation Epic Fury, and how the weapons, the ships, the strategy, and the sailors behind them succeeded in delivering a precision blow that reshaped the Middle East overnight. Let's begin with context, because you can't understand how the Navy succeeded without understanding what it was up against and what it had prepared. For weeks leading up to February 28th, U.S. Central Command, known as CENTCOM, had been quietly assembling what it would later describe as the largest concentration of American military firepower in the Middle East in a generation. That's a phrase worth pausing on. The largest in a generation. We're talking about a buildup that dwarfed anything seen since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. At the center of this naval armada were two aircraft carrier strike groups. The first was the USS Abraham Lincoln, designated CVN-72, a nuclear-powered supercarrier that had been operating in the North Arabian Sea since January. Stretching over 1,000 feet in length and crewed by roughly 5,000 sailors and airmen, the Lincoln is a city at sea. Her air wing, Carrier Air Wing 9, included some of the most capable aircraft in the American inventory. Marine Corps F-35C Lightning II, stealth fighters from VMFA 314, the Black Knights, and Navy FA-18E and F Super Hornets from squadrons with names like the Top Hatters and the Black Aces. Together, the Lincoln's air wing brought more than 60 aircraft into the theater. The second carrier was the USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN-78. The world's largest warship and the most technologically advanced aircraft carrier ever built. The Ford had been dispatched from the Caribbean and took position in the eastern Mediterranean. Her air wing, Carrier Air Wing 8, brought additional squadrons of FA-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G Growler electronic warfare jets, and E-2D Advanced Hawkeye early warning aircraft to the fight. Between the two strike groups, the Navy had assembled 14 guided missile destroyers in the region, stretched across the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Oman, and the Persian Gulf. These destroyers, all Arleigh Burke-class ships, are the true workhorses of the Navy's surface fleet. And it was from these destroyers, and from submarines operating silently beneath the waves, that the opening blow of Operation Epic Fury would be delivered. The Tomahawk, America's first punch. At exactly 1:15 in the morning, Eastern Time on February 28, 2026, Operation Epic Fury began. The very first weapon fired was the BGM-109 Tomahawk, America's most iconic and trusted long-range strike missile. U.S. Central Command confirmed it. They even released video footage of it, showing a Tomahawk erupting from the vertical launch tubes of the destroyer USS Spruance, designated DDG-111, lighting up the pre-dawn sky before its rocket booster fell away and its wings deployed, sending it racing toward Iranian territory. So what exactly is a Tomahawk, and why does America keep reaching for it? The Tomahawk Land Attack Missile, or TLAM, first entered service with the U.S. Navy in the 1980s. It was first used in combat during Operation Desert Storm in 1991, and in the decades since, it has become the weapon presidents of both parties turn to when they want to strike hard, fast, and from a safe distance. Here's why. The Tomahawk is roughly the length of a standard telephone pole. It flies at subsonic speed, close to the pace of a commercial airliner, but it does so at extremely low altitude, sometimes just 30 meters above the ground, following the terrain like a shadow. That low profile makes it extraordinarily difficult to detect on radar. It navigates using a combination of GPS, inertial navigation, and a technology called TERCOM, terrain contour matching, which essentially allows the missile to compare the landscape below it against preloaded digital maps, correcting its course automatically. The result is a weapon that can travel between 800 and over 1,500 miles, depending on the variant, and strike a target with accuracy measured in single-digit meters. The missiles used in Operation Epic Fury were primarily Block 4 and Block V Tomahawks. The Block V, introduced into Navy service in 2021, features upgraded navigation and communication systems. It also has the capability for mid-flight retargeting, meaning a human operator on a ship or at a command center can redirect the missile to a new target while it's already in the air. In a dynamic, fast-moving strike operation like this one, that flexibility is operationally priceless. CENTCOM footage showed Tomahawks being launched not just from the Spruance, but from multiple Arleigh Burke-class destroyers across the region. Each destroyer carries its cruise missiles in a vertical launch system, a grid of sealed tubes embedded in the ship's forward deck that can fire weapons nearly straight up before they nose over toward their targets. A standard Arleigh Burke destroyer carries 96 VLS cells, loaded with a mix of Tomahawks, air defense missiles, and anti-submarine rockets. As one weapons analyst at the Center for Strategic and International Studies put it, the Tomahawk is the go-to option for presidents seeking to strike from long range without putting service members in harm's way. Year in and year out, it's the weapon commanders reach for first. In the opening hours of Epic Fury, Tomahawks were directed at a sweeping range of targets: Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps command and control facilities, Iranian air defense networks and radar sites, missile and drone launch infrastructure, and military airfields. The objective was systematic: tear apart Iran's ability to detect, respond, and retaliate before the aircraft even entered Iranian airspace. The submarines, invisible and lethal. While the destroyer launches were dramatic and visible, and CENTCOM was careful to release footage of them, there is another dimension to this story that unfolded entirely out of sight. Beneath the surface of the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf, American attack submarines had also taken their positions weeks before the strikes began. These submarines, Los Angeles-class and Virginia-class nuclear attack boats, are among the most capable and stealthy weapon systems in existence. They can lurk underwater for months at a time, powered by reactors that never need refueling, and strike without ever surfacing. Once Tomahawks had torn holes in Iran's air defense network, the aircraft came. From the Lincoln's flight deck in the Arabian Sea, Marine F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters were catapulted into the darkness. These fifth-generation jets are essentially flying computers. Their advanced sensor suites can map the electromagnetic environment and detect enemy radar systems, sharing data in real time with every other aircraft in the strike package. Their stealth design makes them nearly invisible to the surface-to-air missile systems Iran had spent decades building. Alongside the F-35Cs flew FA-18 Super Hornets carrying precision strike munitions and EA-18G Growlers, electronic warfare jets that jam enemy radar and flood communications bands with noise. If a Tomahawk is a scalpel, the Growler is the electromagnetic fog that blinds the surgeon trying to stop you. High above the strike package flew the E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, a twin-turboprop early warning aircraft with a distinctive rotating radar dish. The Hawkeye can detect threats at ranges of hundreds of miles, track hundreds of contacts simultaneously, and direct both aircraft and ship-based interceptors against incoming threats. In a complex operation like Epic Fury, it was the air traffic controller, threat detector, and battle manager, all in one airframe. Combined across both carriers, the Navy launched more than 100 combat sorties on the first day alone, an air campaign of a scale not seen in the region since Operation Iraqi Freedom. Striking Iran was only half the mission. The other half was surviving Iran's response. Iran retaliated. Hard. Within hours of the first Tomahawk impacts, it launched a mass barrage of ballistic missiles and Shahed attack drones against U.S. forces and partner nations across the region. Targets included the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, military installations in Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE, and dozens of sites across Israel. By any historical standard, the counterattack was massive, but it largely failed. The reason? The Aegis combat system. Every Arleigh Burke destroyer in the operation is equipped with Aegis, an integrated radar and weapons control architecture capable of simultaneously tracking hundreds of aerial threats and coordinating interceptors to defeat them. The Navy's destroyers carried three types of interceptors. The SM-3 is the heavy hitter for ballistic missile defense, designed to intercept missiles in the mid-course phase, outside the atmosphere, in space, using pure kinetic impact rather than a warhead. The SM-6 handles lower altitude threats, cruise missiles, drones, and aircraft coming in at flatter trajectories, and where ship-based systems couldn't reach, ground-based THAAD and Patriot batteries, pre-positioned across the region, added additional layers. Despite hundreds of Iranian missiles and drone attacks in the first 12 hours, CENTCOM reported no U.S. service members killed or seriously wounded. The shield held. One of the most unexpected developments of Operation Epic Fury was a weapon almost no one had heard of before February 28th. It's called Lucas, the low-cost unmanned combat attack system, developed by Arizona-based SpectreWorks and deployed for the first time in combat as part of Task Force Scorpion Strike. Here's the remarkable twist. Lucas is a reverse-engineered version of Iran's own Shahed 136 attack drone, the same weapon Iran had used for years against Ukraine and Israel, improved with American autonomous swarm coordination software and turned against Iranian targets. The irony is almost poetic, and it signals something important. The U.S. military is moving toward a future where affordable, mass-produced autonomous drones complement expensive precision missiles, saturating enemy defenses through sheer volume before high-end weapons deliver the killing blow. So why did the naval mission succeed? 5 reasons. First, standoff distance. By striking from far out at sea, the Navy hit targets deep inside Iran without exposing pilots to the most lethal layers of Iranian air defense. Distance was defense. Second, layered lethality. Tomahawks from destroyers, Tomahawks from submarines, F-35 stealth fighters, Super Hornets, Growler jamming aircraft, Lucas drones, each layer supported the others, creating a strike architecture nearly impossible to defend against comprehensively. Third, the defensive shield. Aegis destroyers absorbed Iran's retaliatory barrage with remarkable effectiveness, protecting U.S. forces and regional partners from mass casualty strikes. Fourth, joint integration. The Navy fought as part of a layered multinational force including Air Force bombers, Israeli strike aircraft, Army missile defense, and space-based intelligence. The Navy's contribution was decisive, but it derived much of its power from seamless integration with the broader campaign. Fifth, preparation. This operation was months in the making. The target lists were built, refined, and rehearsed. When the order came at 1:15 in the morning, the Navy was ready. On February 28, 2026, the United States Navy reminded the world of something true since the age of sail. The power to strike from the sea, silently, precisely, and at range, is one of the most strategically decisive capabilities a nation can possess. Carriers launched jets, destroyers fired cruise missiles, submarines struck from the deep, and when Iran struck back, the shield held. The full consequences of Operation Epic Fury will unfold for years. But in its opening hours, the U.S. Navy delivered a precise, powerful, and overwhelming blow, deploying decades of investment in ships, weapons, and training in a single coordinated campaign. That is what modern naval power looks like.